And now for our feature presentation.
He'll be fine on the mountain.
JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Line drive right field, base hit. South Carolina wins the College World Series. Watson, touchdown. Hunter Renfrow. He got him, and it's all over. Coastal Carolina rules the roost. They win the championship. And South Carolina has won the national championship.
Senegal baseball team has done it again, but this time the Bulldogs beat one of the top teams in the country. They are giant killers. Get the ball to Bennett. It does.
Gamecocks are in the Final Four.
All right, greetings and a good Wednesday afternoon, and welcome aboard the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online, and very proudly presented by Motley Rice. Causes, not just cases. MotleyRice.com and driven by Stokes Volkswagen. Find them at StokesVW.com. Make sure you downloaded the all-new JB and Goldwater app. It's so easy. Just plug it right into your phone. You can listen to our program. You can watch our program. You can comment in it. You can do so much stuff. You can contact us there. Hey, maybe you'd like to get on the air and be one of our partners. You can do that as well if you're a business owner. Just go to the app or head to jbandgoldwatershow.com and pop us a note, and we will be in touch with you. We're in touch with you every day between noon and 2, and every Wednesday, JC Shurburtt is in touch with you through our program, but obviously he does so daily over at thebigspur.com. They've been busy. Obviously, football always has news. More news yesterday regarding the Gamecocks program. Carolina fell last night in hoops to Kentucky. Baseball season is set to go. So there's a lot of stuff over there at thebigspur.com. A lot of stuff on our program today, including those two segments with JC Shurburtt, at least. Some are expecting to hear something about the future of Brian Harsin over at Auburn. And so we'll certainly keep our eyes peeled on that and see what comes from the Plains, maybe on a sunny, finally, afternoon. I woke up this morning and saw this little yellow ball in the sky. Could not believe my eyes. It was pretty sensational. We'll dabble in the Olympics a little bit, but obviously basketball last night, a lot to get to there. A couple of blue bloods came in to the Palmetto State, walked out with wins. Clemson falls to North Carolina in a nail biter at Little John. Gamecocks hung in there, but just could not get it done against Kentucky. So that is all up next here in just a couple of minutes. The Share Healthcare chat lines, good Lord, I can't speak today, are open, and we see many of you are in. So thank you for that. We'll get your comments plugged into our program. You can comment there. Follow us on social media as well, at JB and Goldwater, and individually at Sports Media JB and at Darren Goldwater. Before I get Darren in here, I'll read a note we received a little while ago on the app. This is from Albert Grice. Albert, good afternoon. Hope you're well. Really appreciate it. And he said, I just downloaded your app. I've been listening to your show for about a month, and I appreciate what y'all are doing. I find your show both informative and entertaining. Keep up the good work. So, Albert, that is all because of Darren. So, Darren, thank you for what you do. What's up?
Thanks, Albert. I'm playing hurt today. I don't feel great.
The Achilles?
No, man. I just don't.
What's wrong now?
No, I'm sick, but I'm good. I'm good. I can power.
Sinuses,
power through the week. Yeah.
COVID.
Not COVID, tested just to make sure there's a kid in school, all that stuff. I mean, if you get sniffles, right, you got to test. Now everyone has a home test, so no, I'm good. I just don't feel good, but that's fine. That's fine because last night was a great night of hoops. I didn't make it through all of the 9 o'clock games, but man, that Kentucky-South Carolina game was something. There were a lot of different ways that thing could go, and how that played out was not on the list. So but we'll get a lot more into it. But it does show you how good Vegas is, the way that game can be played in a way no one really would have thought. And yet it comes down to whether or not a guy throws one down in the last second of the game. it was it's a crazy night. It was a strange game.
Yeah, it seemed like there were some Kentucky fans shouting there at the end to dunk that thing in before time expired. I don't know if they had some money on it or if they just wanted to rub it in.
That was me. You just heard me.
Yeah, I mean, look, I tell you what, before we get into that, it was a pretty good night of basketball. For anybody that maybe was watching the Gamecocks and the Wildcats play and turned it off as the game ended, man, you missed an atmosphere. Purdue was really neat to see up there. Purdue and Illinois getting it going. Illinois hung in there early, but Purdue really pulled away, won by 16 points at home. I didn't think that the Lakers would have much of a shot in there last night against Kofi Coburn with Kofi Coburn and Illinois in town. I didn't think they'd had as much of a shot as even the Lakers might against Purdue and the Boilermakers, who got their 21st win of the year. But yeah, that happened last night. Of course, everybody's talking about what happened in Fayetteville. I had a sneaky feeling about that game. Auburn had won the previous 2 games on the road in the SEC against Missouri and Georgia by a combined 3 points. I thought, man, I don't know if something smells here, and it went in favor of the Hogs, who are really, really on a roll and certainly looking like a dangerous tournament type team. Elsewhere across the country,
I'll say that they needed that because we went through. Yes, they had won. I think it was 8 straight. I think last night was 9 in a row, but it hadn't been after an 0-3 SEC start, but it hadn't been against any of the top teams in the league. So Auburn's without their point guard. They're not playing as well because that's how back-to-back games they've been a little bit sluggish. There were a couple of people on Arkansas. I was not one of them. But that was a good win for Arkansas because that says we're legitimate. If you're going to talk about the top of the SEC, that says Arkansas has to be included in that conversation. And now the back half of their schedule, the last 7-8 games, whatever they have left, there are a couple more opportunities to put that stamp on it. So I'm curious to see where this team goes from the high of the court storm and topping number 1, how they back that up and where they are mentally as they go forward.
Look, there's some challenges that lie ahead. The next 3 of the next 4 for the Hogs are on the road at Bama, at Missouri, and then they've got Tennessee coming to town. They go to Florida. There's nothing easy about that schedule for Arkansas. They're going to have to get through it. But if they do, 5th ranked at this point in time, Kentucky will land in Fayetteville on February the 26th. So that could be something to keep an eye on there down the road in the SEC. Speaking of the Wildcats, they got their 20th win of the season last night, and they're 9th in the league, Darren, by beating South Carolina. For those interested, it was the Gamecocks' first loss of the year when scoring 70 or more points. The problem was Kentucky scored 86 points and seemingly tried to tear the rim off of the backboard at times. But overall, I'm not a big I pick about it sometimes and have some fun with it, but Darren, unlike some other goofballs out there in our industry, you and I don't take a lot of pride in just touting ourselves and what we, talk about and see, I told you so's and stuff like that. But I will say one of the conversations we had yesterday was if Jermaine Couisnard is able to play well, South Carolina is going to have a chance in the game. And we also mentioned that if he plays well, you'll probably get a big guy to play well, and it's probably going to be good for Keyshawn Bryant. And that's what happened. I mean, those were their 3 players last night. Jermaine, Keyshawn, and Wildens Levesque finally returned to form. He was 8 of 9 from the floor, had 16 points and 7 rebounds. And Keyshawn Bryant had the game of his life last night, literally the best game of his life, with 18 points, 14 rebounds, and 7 of those were on the offensive side. He almost shot 50% from the floor. He was active. He played well defensively. But, Kentucky's really, really, really good. And, they made a couple of bugaboos on their own last night that certainly did not help their cause. And being able to kind of pull away from the Gamecocks earlier in the game than I think they or was what they were hoping for. I don't think a lot of people thought South Carolina would hang around as long as they did. And there were a couple of spurts here and there that certainly thought, well, this one's about to get away from them. But nope, Carolina hung in there. And they just kept battling. And then ultimately at the end of the night, It just wasn't enough. Frank after the game mentioned that he didn't play a lot of guys, which I think he misspoke there because he did. He did play 12 players, but he also corrected it in saying, I didn't play a lot of guys a lot of minutes, and he's right. He played 6 guys last night, the majority of the ball game, Jermaine, and then all the starters, Reese, Stevenson, Carter, Bryant, and Levesque. And he mentioned that it just seemed lately just some guys were almost disinterested. Maybe they were checked out. Maybe they've had a whatever it was, whatever. But so he didn't play him. He didn't play those guys a lot, with the exception of Josh Gray. Let's remember Josh Gray has a broken wrist, and we know what his status is. It's day to day, and so we'll kind of see what that looks like moving forward. But I mean, look, I don't know as much as Frank Martin, Darren, and I'm not gonna claim to here. I liked that. I mean, I thought for a while now it's been time. We need to start trimming some minutes here. Let's play the guys that we're gonna get the stretch with. And he did last night largely. He played the guys who have been playing and seemingly were getting after it. I thought it actually worked well. We'll see if that continues to be a model moving forward, or if Frank will evaluate it day to day. That loss last night should not be deflating for the, quote, state of the program to fans. Anybody really expect to beat Kentucky's? I know I didn't. I hope the team did. But it's almost like if they've been playing like that and continue to, like Calipari said after the game, I'm glad we don't have to play them again. They're going to win some games. What will that mean in the grand scheme? I don't know. But they showed enough last night. They fired up about 400 shots. But they showed enough last night, Darren. They showed some life against one of the better teams in the country, maybe a Final Four team. And there's some encouraging stuff in there. It was a loss, but, there's some encouraging things in there that maybe can help them down the road.
There were encouraging things in there. It was a puzzling game. The fact that I think at the half, I think that's when Frank Martin said something about the tempo of the game. That game was super fast. I mean, faster than either team generally plays. And I tweeted this out last night. If South Carolina wants to play at that pace, I don't necessarily disagree that that's the best chance to beat Kentucky. You need to catch them off guard. You need to neutralize something on the offensive rebounding side of things. And that's exactly what that did, because the breakneck pace didn't have everything as packed in the lane for the typical missed shot opportunities, right? If you're getting into a half court. So there were balls out there to be had, and South Carolina took advantage of that early in the half. The problem is this team is so inconsistent offensively. And if only Couisnard and Bryant are hitting some shots, if you're playing at that pace against a team far deeper, far more talented, you're going to get run out of your gym. And South Carolina's fortunate that they were not run out of their gym last night. I think Toppin's injury hurt Kentucky. Shibwe picking up 2 fouls in the first half. That limited their ability in the first half, clearly, because he then dominated the second half. And if they're playing that way, then it neutralizes South Carolina's strength, which is their defensive play. It's been good this year. It was awful last night. And it wasn't just that it was bad in terms of what they're trying to do. They didn't give themselves a shot. Because if you're running up and down the floor and you're getting into a track meet with Kentucky and you're not hitting enough shots, they're going to race you up and down that floor and they're going to beat you at that game. You can't play that game unless you play it very, very, very well. So
I agree.
So how they continued to engage in that while shortening minutes, that jumped out to me. Frank Martin's mood post-game, that jumped out to me. It was, on the surface, is it a deflating loss? No. I mean, it's a 10-point loss to Kentucky. Okay. But it was puzzling. It was strange the way they engaged in that game. That I certainly didn't expect that. I don't know if anybody really expected to see that. I mean, they talked about it on the broadcast last night. It was eye-opening, and it didn't work out, and they're fortunate that it wasn't worse than it was.
Yeah, I mean, look, again, they did some. They shoot at one point in time last night. They tied it, and I think, gosh, I don't know if they got. I think they did get the lead briefly. But I think what you saw there, a lot of what you're saying, Darren, is just kind of a microcosm for who the team has been, at least largely in the SEC, because nobody still really knows who this team is. I mean, if Keyshawn Bryant all season long played anything remotely close to what you saw last night, Carolina, I can 100% guarantee you would have more than 13 wins. 100% guarantee you they'd have more than 13 wins. Probably have 15 or 16 wins right now. And we'd be talking about a team that's got really a chance down the road. But he's been inconsistent. Jermaine has been inconsistent. Last night, when those guys were much more consistent, Wildens, Levesque, even though he had some lapses in the second half defensively here and there, much better. Then you didn't get the contributions from Stevenson and from Reese. And Kentucky, I think, to their credit, actually did a pretty good job. I mean, those guys have really been the scorers for the majority of the season. So Calipari, I mean, he's not stupid. John Calipari is a hell of a basketball coach. And there was an emphasis on making sure that they're not standing around wide open draining threes all night. Hey, make Jermaine Couisnard, who's been inconsistent at best this year, prove that he can hit a couple. And he did hit a couple last night. So credit to him for doing that. Keyshawn just played with effort, and that was great to see. Wildens Levesque played with effort. So, I mean, but to your point, from a basketball standpoint, trying to beat Kentucky at their own game there's only a couple of teams that can really do. Auburn can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Arkansas has the capability of doing it in this league. Outside of that, I don't think anybody does. Nationally, the Gonzagas of the world, probably the Purdues of the world, if they want to kick it into gear, things like that. There are teams that can do that. But largely, when Kentucky gets into their game, you're not going to beat them at their own game. You have got to make Kentucky play your game. And I think the big question with that, or the puzzling part, to coin a phrase from you, is we don't know what Carolina's game is.
We have an idea, but it hasn't worked. We know half of it. We know what has been effective on the defensive end, and that's why I kind of termed it as a big risk reward, because you can try and match up to them with your strength, but I don't think that would have worked either. So then you try something different, and I think it caught Kentucky off guard, and you came out of the gates. Okay, this is the third straight first half they've played better than they have in the second half, which is a complete reverse from what had been happening during that 3-game winning streak when they were going on these 15-1 runs and whatnot in the second half. It was strange because the choice was obviously made. And if it was not made, the players got sucked into that type of game and nothing was done to stop it. But to me, it looked like the choice was made. Let's run with them. Okay. So then you're dealing with, can you really beat them at their own game? And that's where the risk reward came in, because if they didn't play well, and towards the second half, when, as the game started inching away and Shibwe is asserting himself again, they were in risk of getting blown out. I think if they played their typical style and they were able to really slow things down in the front court, which would enable things to slow down on the defensive end, not just play half court defensively. I mean, that's where it starts. Then I think Shibwe probably dominates the game from start to finish. So it was a risk. I don't know if there was a right answer, but that's the risk that they took and got burned doing it.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things to point out. I mean, let's also the Gamecocks some credit offensively. They did score 42 points in the second half against Kentucky. But the first half was much more played to their liking, where they only hung 34. Kentucky, they ended up really kind of slowing them down after a hot start for the Wildcats, and they had a little bit of a spurt there towards the end, but Carolina closed it, and it was 39-34, and you okay, all right, so obviously more scoring in the second half. To the Share Healthcare chat line, so and I'll start with the latter, the latest comment from our man Clint. Clint, what's up, brother? He said we need better shooters and a legit point guard. True. That's absolutely true. Matter of fact, last night, remember that little spurt with 15 to go in the game? Devin Carter had some hiccups, and Frank called a timeout and lit into him. That was a perfect timeout because it's happened the last two games as well. They've opened the second half. They've gotten a few minutes in, and then the apple just rolled way off the cart, and Carolina could never kind of regain any type of traction or momentum. Frank called timeout last night, and then promptly out of the timeout, they turn it over again. Devin Carter. But what I thought during that timeout was, before he actually called the timeout, Devin had turned it over, and I thought they got to get him out of the game right now and let him calm down, because you got to get Jermaine back in there because he wasn't on the floor. And Devin Carter's going to be a really good basketball player, but he ain't there yet in this league against top. You can see it. He tries to play hero ball at times. This is not high school basketball. And so I thought they're going to call timeout. They're going to get him out of there. But Frank put him right back on the floor, and he promptly turned it over, and Kentucky got another dunk. And then they got him out of there, and Cooper came back in, and they started to kind of slow some things down. And then Clint, I'm not picking on you here, brother. I'm just reading the rest of it. The effort was good last night, but ultimately turnovers and bad shooting from three killed us. Yeah, the 3-point shots weren't good. Turnovers, though, they only turned it over 11 times in the game. And some were inopportune times. I get that. But sweet Jesus, we can live with 11 turnovers because Carolina for a while was one of the worst in the country, Darren. And the last 5 or 6 games, they have been much better.
Yeah, those breakneck pace shots, rebounding deep, those long rebounds that start runs. In a lot of coaches' eyes, those can be looked at as turnovers as well. That's why that pace bothered me would be the wrong word. Scared me if I was a Gamecock fan because that could easily result in what we saw happen. So they didn't necessarily kick the ball around like we saw in a month ago, 6 weeks ago. But that area has been a little bit better. But again, it was the pace that allowed everything to kind of spread out and play into Kentucky's hands. Yeah. It wasn't necessarily the turnovers, though.
No, and again, look, because we talk about South Carolina here, we focus on South Carolina. Kentucky is really good, and there's a reason. This isn't. I know some people will take this as an excuse. It's not. It's not what I'm saying at all. But raise your hand if you really thought they were going to win the game. Everybody in the country, including the broadcast team last night, Jimmy Dykes, who's one of my favorite, were talking about Kentucky and how they're finally at full strength, how good this team is, how good they've been playing, how talented they are. This is a Final Four type basketball team. Obviously, they got to get there, but they have all the pieces to get there. I mean, so, we can't out of one side of our mouth say, well, Carolina sucks, and not on the same side say, Kentucky's also really good, guys. Let's give them a lot of credit.
I've been saying for a couple of weeks, like right after Auburn beat them, that I still thought Kentucky was the best team in the SEC. I still think that, clearly. I mean, I thought that before last night. I've thought that for a couple of weeks, that when they're at full strength where they are right now, they should be the best team in the SEC. They should be one of the top 4 or 5 teams. I mean, they're on the list of who can win a national championship. You can put Auburn on that list. They're not on my list, but you can put Kentucky on that list. That's where there is a gap in my eyes between Kentucky and Auburn.
Yeah, I like both. I really do. I like both teams because I think Auburn can beat you a lot of ways. Auburn's got to get better on the road. They
need their point guard back.
They've struggled on the road. Yep, Zep Jasper, the transfer from the College of Charleston, has been out, and so certainly they need to get him back. Let's here's, by the way, what's left on the list. And you Tiger fans out there, don't worry, we haven't forgotten that you played last night, I promise. But here's what's left on the list. They got to go to Georgia. That is a quad 3 game for South Carolina. I'm gonna name the quads. Everybody, just hold on. I know what you're thinking. I'm not going down that road. Just hold on. Quad 3 opportunity. Ole Miss is quad 2. LSU at home, quad 1. Mississippi State at home, quad 2. At Alabama, quad 1. Quad 3 against Missouri at home, and then at Auburn, quad 1. So it's a difficult stretch. I think we're all well aware of that. Everybody, they should walk into Athens and win the game. They're better than Georgia. They've owned Georgia over the last few years. True. But boy, Georgia has played well at home lately, in giving some, giving some. Auburn got a scare, or they beat Alabama over there, and who they almost beat? Somebody the other day.
You can't take anything for granted with this team. I mean, that's where they are. Georgia, Missouri, I don't care. There's nothing in my eyes that's you should go win that game. Because I can't say that about this team right now, that they should absolutely go home or on the road and beat one of the remaining teams on their schedule, because I can't confidently say that they're the better team. Not right now.
Yeah. Let's see here. Mac and Dino, what's up? How are y'all? Elizabeth, I see you picking on me. All right. How are you? She says, Elizabeth in the Share Healthcare chat lines, how are we celebrating moral victories in year 10 of a coaching tenure? Less turnovers, better defense. That is, nah, that's what happened. I'm not celebrating a moral victory. They lost. I mean, look, I'm not picking on you here, Elizabeth, but you're picking on me. So I'm going to come back at you.
And they didn't play better defense. They were
No,
awful.
no, it wasn't defensively. What I was saying is what I saw, when they were in the middle of a 3-game winning streak. Look, I will, if other people won't do it, I'll do it. If you do something well, we'll talk about it. If you do something bad, we're going to talk about it. What I'm not going to do, even though JC is coming up in just a little bit, and we will talk about the future of the program, what it should look like, and things of that nature, where we are and all that stuff. But what I'm not going to do is open up the mic every day like some of the other doofuses in this state and say, well, they lost again, let's fire everybody and yada, yada, yada. We're not going to do that. That we all know where the state of the program is right now. But, they still have 7 basketball games to play. And as Darren often says, we'll evaluate it at the end of the year. This is very unlikely, like 0% unlikely. But they still have to play 7 games. What if they win 6 games, and all of a sudden they're 19-11 and we're going, well, okay, but what if they lose to Georgia and Ole Miss, right? And all of a sudden they're 13-12 and 4-9. And then that's a totally different conversation. So, I'm just trying to say what happened last night. What happened was Keyshawn Bryant deserves credit for playing well. Jermaine Cousinard played better. Wildens Levesque played better. Eric Stevenson and James Reese couldn't shoot it, and they were defended well. Defensively, they were bad. Kentucky is really good, and they ran up and down the floor, as you pointed out, to the Wildcats, and Carolina got their 7th loss of the year in the SEC. That's what happened. Anything else happened? Did I miss anything? But that's what happened. Right?
No, that's what happened. Sure. The part of what concerns me also, I referenced this a bit right at the beginning of my thoughts, was Frank Martin post game and the way he was talking, the deflated sound, the frustration.
Yeah.
He touched on, this is kind of the profession we've gotten in. You got to deal with it. There were a lot of, I'm not saying he's depressed, but there were a lot of like depressing comments in there just to consume. It was depressing to consume those types of comments. Like, it focused on the defense. It focused on the fact that he didn't play a lot of guys because he didn't think they deserved it. There was a question asked. I'm not sure who asked the question about the buy-in of the guys. That's a paraphrase, but Cornblue.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair question. Right question about just the guys in general. Are they still invested? Do they still believe? And it was not a concrete, oh yeah, it was a, hey,
I hope not.
So, right. I think so now. Ask me again in 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
That's a troubling comment. So a lot of that, a lot of last night to me adds up as kind of what's happening.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Frank answered, Phil basically asked, are you seeing some quit in your guys? And he said, I hope not. That's a great question. And Frank, I think, answered it honestly. And so we'll have to, I hope not too. I mean, that would not be a good sign for anybody. And I think we all know what we're talking about there. So, no, Elizabeth, I didn't say you are saying fire Frank. I'm saying there are others out there that they just can't wait to turn on a microphone or get on their Twitters or whatever. And anytime something bad happens in any sport, fire this guy and move on to the next guy. So it was another loss, 3 in a row for the Gamecocks, and it has certainly been a tough stretch. This is a stretch coming up where Darren, I think we should just toss. It gets to a point where you get kind of you cross that line that I don't want to cross, which is talking about things that are not realistic. And going into this stretch of quad one opportunities, where there are 4 straight, A&M, Mississippi State, Tennessee, and Kentucky, there was still, even though it was small, a realistic opportunity for South Carolina basketball to get it going and knock on the door of the NCAA tournament. All right. They went 1-3 in this stretch. So that conversation really doesn't need to be had. I'm going to throw that out the window, and rightfully so, because they haven't earned that conversation to this point, and they're going to have to do a lot of work to get back into it. But for the sake of the season, at Georgia and Ole Miss are two games that you can absolutely win, and we'll see if they do it. They're both on the road. It's tough to play on the road, but they can win those games, and then we'll see where it goes from there. But first of all, up next, it's Athens.
Yeah, and like Frank pointed out last night, the rest of the schedule, it's not against the top of the league until the end of the schedule. So there are games in there, right? I gave you the flip side yesterday when I gave here's why Kentucky can kill everyone, and then I gave you the numbers that said, well, Kentucky hasn't been covering in their last 5 SEC games, make it their last 6 SEC games, and they've been winning by 6 points a game in their last few SEC road games. If you want positivity on this note, those teams are in the middle of the pack. It's not like anyone's going to come in as a double-digit favorite right now until the very end of the year. If this team can find some lightning in a bottle, there's reason to say maybe. So I'll give you the caveat of hope with that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is 12:31 on a finally sunny Wednesday afternoon, at least where we are. We hope it's sunny where you are as well. I have no idea what the weather is in Chicago, Illinois, but JC can fill us in right here when we return to the JB and Goldwater Show.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right. We take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity financed a new loan subject to lender approval.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work. And two others you probably don't think much about: stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations: Bell Hall, Park West, and Clemens Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. For all your football, college, and NFL, the Dog and Duck, Clemens Ferry Road, Bell Hall, and Park West.
Your online radio. The new online radio that makes you happy. I got honeybee beating on my screen door. I got a little buzz in my head. So. Cause we come from a long line of sinners like me.
And you were listening to the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online.
Don't cry for me when I'm gone. Just put a quarter.
That's what I tell my children, JC. Kids, Listen to the Chief. Just put a quarter in the jukebox. That's it. All right. Hey, by the way, big news for you. How far are you from Milwaukee?
I am about 2 hours from Milwaukee.
All right. Well, the Chiefs got a stadium event at the end of May at Family First Stadium there in Milwaukee. So if you don't go, your last appearance on this show will be
in May. Yeah, today.
In May. We'll use it for May. Yeah.
I actually love that stadium up there. It's kind of outdated compared to some of the other new ballparks around the league, but it's very modern and futuristic, and I kind of like that. And Milwaukee's always got they don't have Milwaukee Fest over the summer, and Guns N' Roses headlines it sometimes. So I definitely am all about getting me some Milwaukee time in. But Chiefs coming here March 11th to the United Center, so
that's right.
Probably I'll check that out too and take a picture.
You don't have your tickets yet?
Take a picture in front of the Jordan statue. Nah, not yet.
Dude, are you gonna go?
It's not selling out in the pit. Yeah, probably if they're available.
Yeah, there's only one way to watch the Chief. March 11th. That's a Friday night. That's
it's a good time.
That's the first night that's the first game between Leave, Texas and South Carolina in baseball. So I'll keep you updated.
Yeah, text me.
By the way, local dude, really good dude. Now he's up in the Northeast. He was down here for a while. Just was added to the Brewers broadcast team. Josh Mauer. So you head out there.
Cool.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I was on the show last year, I guess, talking about the Brewers. And it was before they made the playoffs. It was maybe 2 years ago. And I mentioned, that they all kind of look like the cast of what's that called? Lords of what's the show with the motorcycle show?
Sons of Anarchy?
Sons of Anarchy. They all look like kind of Sons of Anarchy type guys. And then I was like, there's no Gamecocks on there. And sure enough, I was wrong because Justin Smoke was a member of the Brewers.
Oh,
he just kind of blended in there. And you guys correct
and he
me.
grew his hair out. He was an idiot.
Well, they all look like they came up on Harleys or something. I'm like, wow, and then there are all these weird names. But they have a good team. And the Braves had them in the playoffs last year. So that's good. And that also gives me a chance to see the Braves if I miss them at Wrigley. Because the last couple of years when they've come to Wrigley, it's been April, and it's very cold up here during that time. So you go to Wrigley in April, you don't know what you're going to get, and usually the Braves play the Brewers a little later. So I may even skip the United Center for Chief and go in May in Milwaukee.
Try to get some baseball while you're there. How about that?
Why not? So.
I'm with you. Yeah, I remember when Smoke grew his hair out. I was like, "What are you doing? Cut that rug, man. That's ridiculous."
There's a lot of Paradise City for walk-up music and stuff for these guys.
Yeah. Exactly.
Ozzy Osbourne, all that good stuff. And then there's some Mexican players too. They have the mariachi music. They're just a different looking bunch aesthetically. So
yeah, baseball's changed a little bit. I told Smoke, I said, your hair's too long and your pants are too tight. Figure it out, pal. This is ridiculous. These big leaguers, man, they paint these jeans on now these days. All right, JC, do have some football stuff, but we'll just hold that and kind of continue on with the basketball conversation here. We'll get to that coming up in round 2 with you on the other side of the break at the top of the hour. But look, as far as the actual game goes last night, I mean, nobody really was projecting or predicting that the Gamecocks would pull an upset. But the bigger picture is kind of where they stand, right? And that they're 13-10 and they're 4-7 because, if Carolina lost last night and they were, 6-5 and 15-8 on the season, we'd be talking about what they need to do down the stretch to get into the NCAA tournament. Obviously, if they had 2 more wins, especially in the league, they would have had 2 really good wins somewhere, but they're not. And that's kind of where it is now. It's like, all right, well, yeah, there are still opportunities left on their schedule. Let's see what happens, this and the other. But we're not going to have a fake conversation about the NCAA tournament. We all know what needs to happen. They're going to literally have to go win the SEC tournament to get in. So we're not going to have that conversation until they get into the SEC tournament and get into the championship game, basically. But with just in general with the basketball program, we knew coming into the season, right, where things were. We knew what was going on. I mean, we all know the history, and although some things have gotten, but they're a better team than they were last year. I mean, come on, we can give them that much credit, but they're not going to go to the tournament. So what does that mean to you?
Yeah, it's a tough situation. And it's one of those where I don't think that last night changed anybody's mind about anything, and sort of the idea that the tenure of Frank Martin, needed to get to the NCAA tournament to continue, and that's not guaranteeing anything. I think that there's still 7 games, 8 games at least left, maybe 9 or 10 with the NIT. But you go to 4-7 in the league. It's not losing to Kentucky. I thought South Carolina played, especially offensively, one of its best games. Keyshawn Bryant,
unbelievable. Did he just freeze again?
He likes freezing when he's on with us.
I mean, I know it's cold up there in Chicago, but it must every week. It's cold literally right when he gets on the air with us.
I'm going to have to kick him out of here and send him the link again. That's what we'll do.
Do we need to send JC an internet service? Is he using satellite internet?
Yes, apparently. He's doing something where it always freezes. I mean, it's been without a spaceship. There's been no glitch at all until it just dead.
Is he in the Big Spur.com space station somewhere?
Maybe he's in like an actual igloo in Chicago.
Oh, sweet. I'll to kind of fill some time, but it's probably something that everybody here is going to agree with me when I say this. And look, I'm not one of these internet media heroes that can't wait to criticize Ray Tanner for the grass not being cut or the pothole not being filled or something like that in the parking lot. Everybody wants to beat up on Coach Tanner all the time. But I know one thing, and I'm not sure how it came together. So let me make sure I'm clear on that. Maybe this was kind of like, hey, yeah, that sounds good. Let's do it. But the lack of promotion and the fact that Steve and Jerry Spurrier were there last night, and Steve was going to hand over the first-year coaches award to Shane Beamer, and literally nobody knew about it until a couple reporters started tweeting out towards the end of the first half, hey, by the way, Coach Spurrier's here tonight, and he's expected to address the audience during halftime. I mean, I ran back to my email thinking, oh, well, I probably didn't read through the game notes that are sent to me from the athletics department before every game, right? I missed it. No, I didn't miss it. I mean, there was nothing. There was no promotion that this was coming. I promise you that instead of 2,500 Go Big Blue supporters in there last night, there probably would have been a few more people that showed up to see Steve Spurrier standing at halftime, giving a speech to the Gamecocks, taking jabs at North Carolina and everybody else that he tries to get one in the short amount of time he's got, and handing a football and an award to Shane Beamer, and nobody knows about it. I mean, that's just it. So I don't know who dropped the ball, because I personally think somebody really dropped the ball there. But hopefully somebody in that office today is getting a Frank Martin type rear end chewing for nothing. Not a tweet, not a nothing. Nobody.
I wonder if just the first thing that jumps to my head is for some reason Spurrier said he didn't want that, but that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, I agree with everything you're saying.
That wouldn't be Steve either.
Right. But that would be really the only reason to not promote that you were specifically asked not to promote that.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
the case.
Otherwise, you have one of the biggest names in your sports history.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm trying to give some leeway here, because I don't want this to take on a life of its own necessarily. But I mean, look, Steve and Jerry come to Columbia often. They're up there a lot. Okay, they come and see some friends. They love being in the state of South Carolina. They are now lifelong Gamecocks. Steve and Jerry love the University of South Carolina, and they come up a lot. So I am giving a bunch of cushion to the argument that somebody fell asleep on the job and nobody did anything to promote this by saying that maybe they happened to give somebody a call saying, hey, by the way, we're in Columbia. We'd like to go to the game tonight. Can I sit in somebody's suite? What, Steve? We'd love you to come to the game. Matter of fact, if you're going to come to the game, Shane's coming. Maybe you should present him with that football that he's already received in the mail. You know what I mean? Oh, okay. Well, that sounds good. Maybe it was kind of a last minute type deal, but unless it was literally like last minute where they were about to walk on the floor, they decided to do this right before they walked on the floor, there was still nothing. Like nobody knew anything about it. And I think Mike Yuva had tweeted something like, hey, I just saw Miss Jerry walk by and say, well, Steve's going to be out on the floor tonight. I thought, you got to be kidding me. So that's poor. I mean, it's poor. It's a failure. They got to, that's not good. And that somebody's got to own that mistake.
Robbie has a decent point in the share healthcare chat line.
Yeah, that's what I just asked.
Yeah, right. As decent as the point could be, it doesn't mean that the ball wasn't dropped. But yeah, like when did you even know?
Yeah, exactly. So, hey, are you on the International Space Station? This happens every week.
I don't know what it is. I would like to say that it's not on my end, but I can't guarantee that because the TV freezes sometimes around here, and but I don't know. I do other shows too, and I don't freeze. It may be my computer. My computer may not like StreamYard or something. I don't know.
I'll keep you. What I'll do instead of throwing up graphics, I'll just keep the look this way because sometimes when I make it big, that tends to be what.
Yeah, nobody needs to see my face that big. I mean, it's scary. There are children watching, right? You know.
True.
You know.
Well,
I don't know where I left off. Did I get to the point where you need to figure out what's going to get you 5 or 6 more wins a year?
I think you were getting there.
You were there.
Okay. Yeah. So you take the pandemic out, take Frank's first 2 years out. Those should not count, you know. And you got the NIT, the 25 win team that got screwed. And I'll never ever come off of that.
I won't either.
And then the Final Four team. And you look at it, and what's going on is South Carolina's winning 17, 16, 18, 17, 16, 8. You know, and they won 17 the year before that 2-year run. They won 17 after the Final Four, 16 the next year, 18 pre-pandemic when everything stopped. And then, you know, the disaster of last season, which I don't think should count. Any year where you got teams like Duke and North Carolina struggling to manage it. I mean, South Carolina was just unfortunate from that standpoint. And then they're backtracking towards about 15, 16, 17 wins this year. So you do the math, and you're 4 to 5 wins a year away from really doing something. And I think that's what you got to ask yourself. And that's been the question. What's going to get South Carolina men's basketball those extra 4 or 5 wins? And at this point, you know, it could be that you know, that's what you got to look for in a new coach if you make a change, is who's gonna push through that ceiling. And I would use the term glass ceiling, but you know, we don't want to talk about Hillary Clinton.
Well, look, man, I mean, and this is, you know, oftentimes, JC, when you ask questions like the questions I'm about to ask, you get accused of being okay with settling for mediocrity and stuff like that. I'm not doing that. I've been around this program my entire life, and you know, have seen the few successes that they've had in you know, almost 40 years, and certainly have seen the failures. Here's what I know about Gamecock basketball. It has tremendous support these days when they give you reason to support it. There was a time when they were in Frank McGuire Arena, JC, less access to the program. You know, you didn't have every game on TV and stuff like that. The place was always packed. I remember we used to travel up from Charleston during weeknights and the whole 9 yards. It's a place that has tremendous facilities. It now plays in one of the best leagues in the country. But at the same time, it has long had very sporadic success. Very sporadic. I mean, like, we all know what that means. Since the Frank McGuire era ended, a couple of years here, a couple of years there, maybe a year here and a year. That's it. Nothing. Someone pointed out the other day they've got 4 NCAA tournament wins in like 47 years. Yeah, all 4 of those happened in the same damn year, 2017. So this program, there's nothing elite about it, and there has been for 50 years basically. But can it be elite? Can it be? Should it be elite? Jason, look what Auburn's doing. Look what the rest of the SEC's done since South Carolina went to the Final Four.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the coaches around the league, and Frank is the second most tenured. I mean, we saw the 2 most tenured coaches in the league coaching against each other last night. And then you look, and every time there's an opening at an SEC school, there are big names associated with it. Vanderbilt sort of made a weird hire with Jerry Stackhouse, but Jerry Stackhouse is a big name. Tennessee went and got Rick Barnes. Arkansas, the coach from Nevada, Musselman?
Yep.
LSU hired Will Wade. I mean, you've got Buzz Williams at A&M. I mean, every single time you play, you are going against a really well-coached basketball team.
Can I interject? I'm not trying to play gotcha here, and that. I would never do that to you. But let me ask you a question. All of those names you just threw around, I know about their successes before their current programs.
Sure.
Were they bigger names than what Frank Martin was when he came over from Kansas State?
No. Well,
he was a big name when he got hired.
I'd probably say Ben Howland because he'd been to a Final Four and at UCLA twice, 3 times. I'd say Buzz Williams was that type of hire. Was Nate Oates? No. Bruce Pearl definitely was a big name hire.
Yeah. Barnes is on that list too.
Barnes, yeah. And Tom Crean at Georgia, even though they're middling.
Middling.
They're at the bottom. They're not that good. So yeah, I mean, look, a lot of great coaches in the league, and that's because the league schools have money to spend on basketball coaches because of the TV deals and all that. So
true.
But there comes a point too, and look, I'm not. You guys know I'm on the big fan of Frank Martin page. Nothing makes me sadder than to think that he may not be the coach at South Carolina anymore after this year. But the program's stuck. They're kind of stuck in like, boom, they're hitting the head up against boom, 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 hitting the head up against the wall here. And they can't, they had, I mean, it's been the same season over and over and over with the exception of the NIT in the Final Four year. The same season. We see it. We see non-conference losses that are costly that we know will come back and bite them. There's no margin for error in the SEC anymore. You have big moments against big-time opponents at home where they just quite couldn't get it done. Last night was one. LSU 2 years ago was one. They lost home by 5. And then other times where, you go to a 3-win Vanderbilt team at the end of the year trying to get to 19 wins and you get skunked. But then you also have some moments where, like when they beat Kentucky 2 years ago at home, or, there's been, that team that went 11-7 in the league after starting so poorly, beat Auburn at home. They beat Florida. I mean, they've owned Florida for the most part until this year. I mean, so it's been up and down. And sometimes you have that and you have a good coach and you have, decent to good players. But it's gone as far as it can go. And as far as it can go, obviously, was the Final Four. But as far as that next step for this program, which I said after the Final Four, is to not make this be a moonshot, one and done, to kind of get back to the tournament, kind of like Frank's 5-year tenure at K-State, man. I mean, that was, that when he got hired, I was like, man, if he can do that to South Carolina, people are going to go crazy because, 4 NCAA tournaments and an NIT in 5 years, never lost in the first round. Frank Martin is one of the best NCAA tournament coaches I think we've seen when you look at his record. But really maybe it's just not at South Carolina, and maybe it's one of those things where he may be better suited, I don't know, in a different league, a different program. Maybe it maybe at a mid-major, like doing something like Cliff Ellis has done at Coastal. I mean, could you imagine Frank Martin at Coastal? I mean, he would kill it at a place like that. I mean, because the recruiting, what he does, what they do a good job of is finding players that are better than people think they are.
Yeah.
But in this league right now, collectively, they just don't seem to be good enough to get over that hump. They're good enough to be maybe top half of the league with all these other star athletes and stuff. But a place like Coastal, you can go get those same players out of the same pool, and you're not in the SEC. You're in the Sun Belt, and winning 26 instead of 16. So.
Fun Belt, JC. Fun Belt. By the way, Darren's calling the Coastal game tomorrow night with Nate Ross.
Saturday night.
Chanticleer.
Gold jacket, green jacket. Who gives it? I'm just kidding.
Yes.
Again, because I'm with you, JC, know Frank personally. Don't have enough good things to say about him as a human being. Honestly, don't. I would literally, we could do it all day and I'd run out of things to say. But we're talking about the program here, and he's the leader of the program. And, one of the questions that I have is, Frank seemingly has a lot of old school in him, and a lot of that, in today's world, people don't like it. I personally don't care necessarily, but a lot of people don't like it, and that's fine. How much has this game changed? I mean, even since the Final Four in 5 years with the transfer portal, I don't know how much NIL has really infiltrated the roster to this point. Maybe it will soon, but the transfer portal, and he's a team. He's a coach, JC, that we've long known. His teams, as they grow together, like literally like grow together, get older, they get better and better and better. Continuity in a roster is a really good thing for a Frank Martin coach team. That's not really the world we live in anymore in college basketball. So how much have the rule changes maybe affected his success as a college basketball coach?
I think it has a chance to really, kind of stick the thing in neutral a little bit. Like I was saying, the program's stuck. You knew after last year when everybody left, or a lot of people left, even though they got Cousinard and Bryant back, those guys had some challenges of their own, to get back and with the team. And then all those new faces, I mean, and you hit the nail on the head. It's a fact that Frank Martin's teams, when they're together more, they start to win and play. I mean, you look at the NIT team that got screwed, Michael Carrera and that bunch. They had been playing ball together for a few years, and then they got better and better. The Lithuanians, those guys, they got better and better and better. Thornwell and Dozier. In year two, Dozier was much better than he was the previous year. And you had Dwayne Otis there as a senior. I mean, it all came together. And nowadays, though, you're not going to have the luxury of keeping everybody in your program. I mean, just because somebody's got to sit on the bench, and not play. So inevitably, those guys are normally going to leave to go get more minutes. That was happening before the portal. Now, I think college basketball is almost going to become like a gigantic pickup game every offseason, where you're going to see 70% of rosters turn over each and every offseason. It's the nature of kind of the sport right now. Football's got its portal issues, right? Both good and bad. But you're looking at a small percentage of roster turnover still in that sport. And I think you'll continue to do it. Basketball, there's only 13 scholarships. And I think you're going to turn that over a bunch, regardless of how good you're doing or not. I think, you look at even before the portal, those numbers were astronomical. And so that's, when you're talking about who's going to coach the program from here forward, I think you got to keep that in mind as well, is who's going to adapt to the new era of the sport. And, you can't sit there and say, Frank's got a long track record of doing that, because he's more, like you said, a builder and a developer and things of that nature.
If you want an example of a coach that wasn't the hottest mid-major name but has done that, it's Steve Forbes in Wake Forest. I mean, inside the business, everyone knew who Steve Forbes was and his track record and his ties, but he wasn't like the hot name, like a Musselman or Oates. And then he goes to Wake and he's transformed that roster. They're one of the better teams in the ACC in year 2.
BJ Mackey is an assistant coach on that team as well. JC, it's 1 o'clock. We do need to hit a timeout, but I want to continue this conversation. Obviously, we'll get into Gamecock football. Devontae Holloman is being hired by Shane Beamer and coming over to the Gamecock staff. So we'll talk about the significance of that and much more. I hope everybody will stick around. Download the JB and Goldwater app and text everybody that you know and tell them to do that as well. And you can say whatever you want to us, like Elizabeth did. Now, Elizabeth, I'm picking on you because you were picking on me, so I'm going to pick on you. Hang tight. We'll be right back. Right here in our backyard is Motley Rice LLC, a law firm that hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for South Carolinians who were injured while traveling by plane or bus, harmed by medical drugs and devices, or burdened by dangerous auto recalls, including Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. We are honored to have Motley Rice as a sponsor for the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risked their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clamagore, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work, and 2 others you probably don't think much about, stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the Links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Lowcountry. Our back nine is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit stonoferrygolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The Links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. stonoferrygolf.com.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
Hi, I'm Chris Half, Public Information Officer at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. We're home of the mighty USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, Clamagore, and Vietnam experience. And we're a proud partner of the JB and Goldwater Show. We invite you and your family to come see us and enjoy a day on Charleston Harbor. Visit patriotspoint.org for more information. And now, it is my honor to present the National Anthem.
Live, loud, and online.
daughters are starting their naps late at school. That's never a good sign. All right, 105 here on Wednesday afternoon. Welcome back to JB and Goldwater Show, very proudly presented by Motley Rice. Causes, not just cases, MotleyRice.com. JC will give you the honors. Tell everybody what they need to download.
The JB and Goldwater app. I got mine. You need to get yours. Got a nice, saw my name come up on the push notifications today and got excited because those push notifications, some of them look alike, they're different colors or whatever. So I saw JC Shurburtt on there. I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? There's something, did I do something terrible? And like they're reporting but it was you guys being very, very nice and promoting this segment. So yeah, I encourage everybody to do it.
It's great, man.
It's just one of those things.
It's just one of those things. Don't sound so enthusiastic, JC. Follow us on social media at JB and Goldwater, individually at Sports Media JB, and at Darren Goldwater, and chime in on the Share Healthcare chat lines. You can also do that through the app as well if you're out driving around listening. By the way, I know. I'm not going to say names, but I know there's a lot of people who watch our show from the beautiful upstate of South Carolina. Mm-hmm. I know there's a lot of people in the beautiful upstate of South Carolina that are not particularly happy with what they have to listen to up there.
No.
So if you're not, and by the way, I am not talking about the Roar for anybody interested. I ain't talking about the Clemson guys and gals over there. I got no problem with them. I don't really have a problem with anybody. But if you're in the upstate or you know somebody that is and they say we can't, we need something different, you tell them to download our app, and there you go. They're going to get us every day whenever they want to. It's free, Bluetooth, whatever you want to do. All right, you, Nick, amongst others. There's a lot of you out there, no doubt about that. All right, JC, again, we still got games to play. All right, so let's see what the future of the program looks like at the end of the season. With that being said, I also think personally that if there are changes or if there are not changes as far as the leadership goes of the basketball program, there do need to be changes surrounding the basketball program. And, and here's what I mean by that. When you froze up earlier, when you were wherever you are, wherever you are floating above Earth in your space station, we were talking about the fact that it's a couple minutes before halftime last night, and all of a sudden word gets out that Steve Spurrier is going to be talking to the crowd and handing this award to Shane Beamer. I mean, look, JC, I don't read every single press release that's sent to my email from South Carolina. Excuse me. I'm just kidding. Yes, I do, Steve. I read all of them.
Nobody knew about that last night. Yeah.
No. Yeah. I mean, why? I mean, again, I'm trying to give a little bit of cushion to this here, and I'm not trying to beat up on anybody, but I mean, maybe Steve he's in town a lot. But nobody knows he comes into town. I mean, and he just comes up, hangs out with some people, says hello, and heads on back to Florida. So maybe he just shot up there and gave somebody a call and said, hey, I'd like to come over and watch the game tonight. Oh, you know what? Well, we got to give Shane this award. So you come over and do it. Maybe that happened. I don't know. But a tweet would have been nice, or a late something. Help us, help you promote this. Nothing. Nobody. So, I mean, it's little things like that, that the student section. JC, you're a smart guy from at least what I know. You, me, everybody else, we all knew there's going to be a couple thousand Kentucky fans in there last night. Some of those folks up there buy season tickets just to come to this one game. I don't know why they don't sell it out, but they do it. And every year this happens when Kentucky comes to town. And this is everywhere. They have a greit's just a, props to their fan base. I mean, they travel. But I mean, maybe we can do things that even when that's going to happen in our own gym, we could make it at least look on TV like it's not happening. Like, put the students on the side of the floor that the camera can actually see. I mean, there's just a lot of things that I think really need to be changed with the promotion of the program. And I'm saying that out of the good of my heart because I care about it, not because I want to be critical, but because I care. And you look at what happened at Auburn. I mean, those things can happen here, and I don't know why they're not.
Well, South Carolina, I kind of compare the Colonial Life Arena situation to a situation in Chicago when the White Sox built the new Comiskey Park. They built the new Comiskey Park right before the dawn of the retro baseball stadium era. You built the new Comiskey, and it's just kind of blah. And then the Orioles open Camden Yards next. And then you have all these beautiful ballparks opening up, the retro look all over the country. And the trend, they just missed the trend window. I think when they built Colonial Life Arena, they built it like looking at places like Rupp, like out at Arkansas. If you remember when they started this idea, South Carolina just won the SEC and under Fogler and gone to the tournament 2 years in a row. You couldn't get a ticket. You couldn't get a ticket. And then, of course, the bottom fell out, but that's a different story. So they worked to build this arena. And, they looked at, the arena out in Arkansas and all that and said, all right, we're going to model it after that. And great, away you go. At the same time, they also promised a lot of big-time football season ticket holders and boosters floor seats in basketball, because that was kind of a throw-in. And the boosters were down close at Carolina Coliseum as well, but it was just such a different type of setup. The fans were right on top of you. It's a severely raked arena, so that it's just a better home court advantage. And I think the thought at the time was this basketball program that has only been in the SEC for 5 years is on its way back to where it was under Frank McGuire when they were in the ACC. I mean, at that point, you're only 25 years removed from that. You can wake up the echoes at that point. And then what happened. And the newer arenas and the trend lines then all of a sudden start to go from gigantic, big old arenas like the Colonial Life to something like Auburn has or Ole Miss has on their campus, where it's not very big, but loud and very nice. First class, state of the art, facilities included, all that good stuff. And so I think what we're seeing is the last remnants of the Mike McGee facilities plan, which was left a lot to be desired. I mean, Mike McGee was a great athletic director, but South Carolina did not get out in front of things. And yeah, the idea is great. The Colonial Life Arena is a beautiful building. It's nice. You saw when they hosted the NCAA tournament a few years back with a big, good basketball crowd that it is even the national media was commenting, that South Carolina basketball arena is really nice. It's a great place to watch a game. Well, you know why? The lower bowl was full of fans, and it wasn't just people. They weren't a bunch of people dressed up like empty seats or, people just that were sitting there falling asleep. And, like Frank Martin said that one time, a guy was talking on his cell phone across the way and he could hear him.
First year. Yeah.
But when you get everybody in there and you, like the NCAA did with the first and second round, and you scale it more for basketball, like a basketball environment, it's a perfectly fine arena. So, you got one of two choices, and I think it's going to probably be easier as more money starts to come in. And it's crazy to talk about more money, but it's football TV deals and stuff are going to start rolling in.
It's coming. Yeah.
It would almost be easier, I think, to say, okay, we have the CLA. We're going to attract events. We'll have tournaments, the basketball, maybe have a Christmas basketball tournament there. You have concerts like Eric Church and, Darius Rucker and the circus and, graduation for South Carolina and all that. But we're going to go on that Coliseum site and we're going to create a first-class state-of-the-art basketball complex with a smaller arena with luxury boxes, and we're going to model it after when our home court was great, which was when the Carolina Coliseum was there. We're going to put the fans right on top of you, and there's going to be hell to pay for basketball teams that come in to play University of South Carolina, just like there used to be when the Carolina Coliseum was going, and just like there is at times, the few times there's been a big enough game where the CLA fills up. But I think it's unrealistic. I mean, if you don't want to do that, build a separate or a new arena, and I'm talking 10 years down the road. I mean, it's not going to happen anytime soon. You need to really go and have some tough conversations and say, look, you're not showing up. Your seats are empty all the time. We're going to give these prioritize students around the court, as much as we can. There's an SEC rule. I think you can't put the students right behind the opposing bench, but you can ring the court with them 75%. We have the band down there, all that good stuff. And then we're going to put you guys half court, but you're going to be up a little ways. You're going to have to be, because, when you get 10,000 in there and your diehards are all in the upper deck, what good does that do? I mean, it doesn't help. And Frank knows it and everybody knows it. And people are going to sit there and say, well, what about women? The women pack it out and it's a great environment. And it is. But I'll say this, if those tickets were not cheap, if that particular section of Gamecock fans, they're a very selected, they're kind of their own deal. It's kind of like Tennessee with Lady Vols. In fact, it's just like that, and those tickets are cheap. They do have season tickets, but they're not prioritizing, boosters or corporations and stuff like that. And the lower bowl is always full, and they're fired up and they win, and that's caused that. Now, if you hired a Dawn Staley who, for men, started bringing in 5 stars and Olympians and all that, then yeah, maybe you could fill it up. But still, even when it's full, it leaves a lot to be desired for men's basketball. And I think, then you talk about the practice facility in the Coliseum. That's fine. It's actually nicer than people would think. But
beautiful.
I'm talking. You gut the whole. It seems kind of weird, but tear the whole thing down, and then you give Dawn Staley and whoever the men's coach is dual state-of-the-art operations buildings like they have for football. You can almost see it an arena, and then you go out and it kind of, one goes one way, that's men, one goes the other way, that's women. I mean, the women's program deserves it. I mean, obviously, and I think if you're ever going to get the men's program going, there has to be a lot of bells and whistles that you implement like other schools. So I think that's something that has nothing to do with who the coach is. Nothing. I mean, it's really something too that Tanner doesn't. Tanner and his group are the ones that are going to have to make the decisions. But Eric Hyman had to ruffle some feathers here to get the program financially on the par. I mean, I don't know how happy people are going to be if Tanner's like, look, you're not allowed enough fans, so we're going to move your seats. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how you have that conversation. So I almost think that a what do you call it, a Gemini plan, like a far, a gold standard plan that would make this work would be to just say, look, we love the CLA. CLA is great, but we're going to go and build a home court for South Carolina basketball for men and women like no other. And we're going all in on it. And we're going to design this, like I said, to get the fans back, and to get the home court advantage at South Carolina back. Now, will that happen? Who knows? People are like, well, the CLA is only 20 years old. Well, keep in mind the Falcons just blew up the Georgia Dome that was 20 years old and had something and got something new. And the Braves had when they decided to build SunTrust or whatever it's called now, the Turner Field was only 20 years old. So I think that with this program, in the CLA situation, it's just kind of let's do a do-over. It's simply because at the time, like I said before, the trends were one way, and then they immediately almost flipped after they opened it, and that's something else to consider there too.
Well, this is a conversation. We've had this conversation before with football, and and I'm not going to get out here, JC, necessarily and say anything along the lines of we need a new arena at South Carolina. For one, I love Colonial Life Arena.
I think you badly do. I'll throw that.
Have you been to CLA?
Oh yeah, many times. I think I've always thought it's too big.
I've been in there when Carolina's good, that place is loud as anywhere. I mean, it is really, really a special place. But I think, all right, let me put it this way. Let me ask you this. I'm asking both of you this. If y'all turned on the TV in the fall and Carolina was playing at Williams-Brice Stadium and the students were on the other side of the camera or in the upper deck, how do you think that would go? There's nobody sitting in the seats. There'd be some changes real freaking quick. We all know that. Okay. It would be, matter of fact, my family was a part of the changes when they moved us to the south end zone going into the 1996 season. All right. When they built the south end zone and they moved us, we were in the lower, but they built the new addition and they moved the students over to the north end zone. All right. Why'd they do that? They did it for atmosphere. They did it to be fair to the, I mean, there's a lot of reasons. But that's why they did it. I mean, they built a new addition to get people in there, but they situated it there right to make sure that it looked good on TV and all those things. Why are we not doing that for basketball? I mean, why? There's no – and look, these people got way more money than I have that sit right behind the bench, and when the camera's up front last night on Jimmy Dykes and Carl Ravitch, and you got a couple of these dudes standing there kind of staring off into la-la land after they just shoved about 6 hot dogs down their throat. Nice guys. Appreciate all the money they give to South Carolina. That's great. I hope I'm in their position one day where someone has to come tell me, hey, man, even though you spend a lot of money, we got to move your seats. And I hope I get to fight back about it. But the reality of it is the atmosphere sucks. So, what are we going to do about it? And to your point with the women, I don't think Dawn would be hollering if they moved the students to where they were on TV and it made her atmosphere look even better than it already is. I think Dawn would be just fine with that. I mean, I'm with you. My idea has been for a while that I think they should, maybe this would be an exploratory move, JC, to the kind of an extreme proposal that you kind of threw out there. I'm not saying that in a bad way, but I've said for a while, why don't they play a game a year in Frank McGuire Arena? Do a throwback game. Let's see what it looks like. Let's have some fun with it. That place inside and out, JC. Hey, had classes in the bottom of it. When I was going there as a fan, I never knew that you could go downstairs and learn. Didn't learn much, but we went down there. But why not? So I just think that I'm saying all this out, and I think fans that throw these ideas out there say this out of the good of their heart because they care. It's not just complaining to complain. It's like, hey, I know what we have here, what we could have. Let's get there. How do we do it?
Yeah, and Elizabeth chimes in and says they need a winning men's team to solve the problems. That's not true right now.
No, it's not.
Because there have been winning teams. Even Frank's Final Four team, you looked on TV, and very, very few times was the place packed. And you still had the Kentucky-type situations and stuff like that. It is true, though, to Elizabeth's point here, that winning does solve a lot, and that's the absolute truth. I just think that really the last time, believe it or not, that the winning the place was really full was Darren Horn's first year, which was 2008. That's 14 years ago. And there have been some pretty good teams and some teams that, quite frankly, had big games that maybe didn't finish in the NCAA tournament, but they had games at home that were huge that they unfortunately lost, where the atmosphere left a lot to be desired to be a game of that magnitude. And so that's the thing. And that's crazy too, because that's another weird thing about Frank's tenure is that Dave Odom didn't have problems filling the arena. When he was the first coach to coach there, and then Horn. For 1 year, kind of brought it back. Everybody got excited, but you think about.
Well,
Hyman,
JC, let me interrupt real quick. Though Brad Scott didn't have a problem filling Williams-Brice Stadium,
no doubt.
And
it's a different conversation though. Talking football. Look at what Alabama's plans are. They just announced the new plans. It's like a 10,000 seat arena.
Yeah,
it would help.
Perfect
to start. Yeah, it'll be beautiful. To start, moving the students and changing the atmosphere is how it would have to start, because nothing's happening immediately. that's a super good place to start getting some energy back around that floor. And then maybe I think the success of the program could help at least nudge someone forward and say, look, okay, here's what these guys have. Here's the growth of our program. If we want to keep up, we got to do that because this isn't good enough.
Well, I mean, to both of y'all's points, JC, I'm gonna let you run with it after this though. But I mean, I brought up the Brad Scott thing because times have changed. All the games are on TV. We talk the football team, any football team out there. Look at all of them when they're really good on TV. They're still not full like they used to be. So times have changed. So I don't disagree with Darren at all. In fact, you got to start somewhere, and maybe there's going to be, something that they could figure out to downsize it and move to the suites and about the fan experience and this, that, and the other. I mean, that's kind of where everything is gone. But I mean, what's your name, JC? I wasn't countering you. I was trying to support what you're saying. Odom filled the arena, but every game that they played was not on the SEC network either.
That's true. That's a good point.
Times have totally changed. That arena was built for two purposes: for Gamecock basketball and for entertainment events. And they're never going to stop bringing events in there because it puts 18,000 people in there. So they're going to keep doing it.
Yeah,
but we got to figure it out.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. It was like when I mentioned that was sort of the end of an era. They were a little bit late to the party. And you even look at football, to your point, JB. Williams-Brice Stadium had a capacity of 80,250 officially. Largest crowd ever was 85,000. Its capacity now is 77. So they're actually taking seats out. The same thing's going to happen at Florida in the Swamp, where they take the bleachers out and everybody has a chair now. That's kind of in the works down there. So sports venues are moving more towards smaller capacities and more bells and whistles. I don't think Truist Park, is it Truist Park?
Yeah.
The Braves, I forgot what bank bought SunTrust, but it doesn't seat as many as Turner Field.
Oh no.
Way less. That's not as good. I don't think I think it's close, but I don't think Mercedes-Benz is as large seating wise as the Georgia Dome either. And and that's the thing. I mean, Williams-Brice, there may be another slashing of seats there.
There's going to be another one.
Yeah, there could be. I mean, and so
it's coming.
I think with that being said, and I think to the University of South Carolina leadership and above Ray Tanner, okay, and the people with money that generously support the University of South Carolina. You talk to most of these folks or you hear about what these folks have to say, and they're all about football, football. They all love baseball. They talk about Dawn Staley's team, and they're all kind of on the same page with those programs. You talk to anybody about men's basketball, it gets polarizing. And I don't know whether that stems from the McGuire era and the split about leaving the ACC and football versus basketball. I don't know where that comes from. But there is a need, I think, for the university as a whole to get on the same page as far as what do you want out of a men's basketball program? Every single one of those folks, wants to go back to Phoenix. Like that was a magical moment, and it was almost sad in a way, because when I was there, I sat there and thought, man, this may be it. This may never happen again. It's so hard to make a Final Four. So there we go. I mean, I think leadership's got to get on the same page, and I think that there is a chance with the money coming in from the SEC and just in general, the revenue situation looking good. There is an opportunity to really commit to basketball, and to do a continued commitment to being the best women's program in the country, and to do a lot of good for your men. And I think that answer, beyond doing things to help the CLA now, would be to go and explore building a new arena. It sounds really weird, but I would do it.
Hey, Coach, if you're listening to us, my deepest apologies to you. So far today, JC, Darren, and myself have determined in order for the basketball team to improve, you need a new coach and a new arena.
We're not wrong necessarily. I mean,
so you're never
sorry.
And it's crazy, man, because we're sitting there also talking about a program that I don't think since McGuire they've had as many winning seasons, and this is going to probably be a winning season. They haven't had as many winning seasons out of 8 or 9 as they've had. I mean, so when you look at the record, you've had winning record. You'll have winning records or non-losing records 7 out of 8 years in a Final Four, and set the school record for wins 2 years. And now we're talking about, well, you need a new arena now and a new coach, and it's kind of funny when you consider the history of the program, right? This is what mediocrity does for you. Sometimes mediocrity is worse than stinking up. I mean, sometimes it's like, man, oh man, what's because you start just reaching for what, like I said, 5 or 6 more wins a year, and they're cooking with grease. So what's going to get you there? A new arena, shoot. I'm just trying to think of it because, guys, I love Gamecock basketball before I loved Gamecock football because when I was a kid, I didn't really understand football, like the ins and outs of it when I was 6. But putting the ball in the basket, I had a goal out from. I knew basketball, and so I could watch it a little easier. And my dad took me to games at Carolina Coliseum, and Burns played for the state championship, Carolina Coliseum twice. Those were raucous atmospheres. I mean, that place is a special place for me. And I've been to Colonial Life Arena a bunch, but it's just not. It kind of just always has felt like something's missing in there. Something's missing. There's just something missing.
Well, I mean, it is a beautiful gym. When it's loud, it is loud. I mean, like loud. I think we all know that. But I grew up in Frank McGuire Arena, so I always have a big heart for Frank McGuire Arena. And I grew up at Sarge Fry Field, and there's literally not many things in the world outside of my children and my wife that I love more than Sarge Fry Field. But times change, and so look, I'm gonna get a nasty gram from Coach Tanner today. Hey man, next year when the football team's losing, well, look, if they just fire Beamer and build a new stadium, they'll probably start
build
winning.
a new stadium. Yeah, it's like no, that's a thing. That build a new stadium has been a thing during the 1 and 21. Because Clemson people love to needle South Carolina about the location of their stadium and all that, and South Carolina's football location is no different than Knoxville, Baton. I mean, Baton Rouge is a little different because the campus is kind of off, but it's Lexington. It's off campus. It's kind of a campus adjacent stadium, and I think that's fine. But that did get brought up during the 1 and 21 era. We just need a new stadium, and people were talking about because at one point they were talking about moving the university to Camden, South Carolina. What if they'd have moved it? Should have moved it to Camden. It had been a nice rural campus, and we'd had room, and we're just downtown Columbia. When you start losing, you start just
you find things
finding things when you're losing that bad. But with mediocrity now and set in basketball and apathy, I think that produces a similar reaction. But I came to the conclusion about a year ago about this new arena thing. I was just sick of talking about it every offseason, and then turning on the TV when basketball started. When they played their first really good opponent, and seeing a bunch of garnet empty seats, it makes me want to throw up because I know there are people in that building, and you turn it on. I mean, your recruits watch games. You turn it on, and you're like, oh, nobody comes to see South Carolina play.
Yeah.
So why would you go there?
Good question. All right, 134, JC. You got a couple minutes, or you got to go?
Oh, yeah. And look, I'll say this, too, because I mentioned Arkansas's arena. I keep wanting to call it Barnhill, but it's Bud Walton. Barnhill's their old arena. I watched their game with Auburn on the TV last night, too, on my other TV. And they figured some things out in that arena with their students. And it's a similar design. So maybe if they're going to do the CLA reseat or whatever, maybe they should, again, just like they did for Founders Park and the Colonial Life Arena, maybe take a trip out to Fayetteville and check out what the Piggies got.
Yeah, or like Darren said, look at the renderings over there, what they're building in Tuscaloosa. It's
yeah, but you know why? You know why they're doing that, don't you? Because the school down the road is number 1 in the country, and they build a new arena.
Oh yeah.
Alabama basketball has needed a new arena for 20 years.
Yeah. I look at the ceiling there, and I get a headache.
Yeah,
Coleman Coliseum. It's like, tough.
They have money coming out of their ears at that school, and so finally they're like, "Hey, let's call up Paul Bryant Jr. and tell him we need a new basketball arena because Auburn's got this new arena, and that's why they're winning number 1 in the country. We just can't have that."
Yeah.
Roll Tide.
Well, look, they needed a new baseball facility forever. They finally did renovations on Thomas Sewell Ballpark, I believe, but it's still comparatively in the SEC. It's not, I mean, it's the SEC, Arkansas. Well, Mississippi State's number 1 in the world, but Mississippi State, Arkansas, South Carolina are probably still the top.
Mississippi State and Arkansas are really good. And I'll say this about Founders, whereas the CLA has kind of been I think Founders has been, I mean, I too love the Sarge. We all did. But there's been some electric moments at Founders Park, and that ballpark is set up to like be a really cool outing for your regular run-of-the-mill games. And then come playoff time, there was nothing better in my life last summer than to see Founders Park packed for that game against Old Dominion, and the atmosphere returned. I know you were there, JB. So I think that was kind of designed in a better manner, with more competitiveness involved and stuff like that, competitive ideas.
Well,
than maybe CLA.
And the thing with Coach Tanner literally designed that ballpark pretty much, by himself. I mean, this is what he wanted. But you know what they did with Founders. A lot of people don't realize this. They built Founders Ballpark to make it capable of adding more seats, and they haven't needed to do that. As a matter of fact, there's probably times where you can make the argument they can just take those out of left field and make it more of a kind of a hangout out there, because you're starting to see those type of atmospheres, and we've long seen it in the state of Mississippi. It's been out there forever in Oxford and in Starkville. A bunch of drunks throwing beer around and stuff like that. But it's neat. Arkansas's got it. Vanderbilt's kind of starting to figure out some things up there with that stinky little ballpark they have. Stuff like that. But anyways, that's for another day. Let's get to some football stuff here, JC. All right. So first of all, congratulations to JJ Enagbari, Kevin Harris, and Zaquandre White. They're the 3 South Carolina representatives at the NFL Combine. So a couple of running backs and a potential first-round draft pick at defensive end. I still am not buying anybody that's got him going in the second round. He was the highest-graded defensive end in the SEC in like 5 years. I think he'll end up sneaking up into the first round. So that's great news there. We also get the news yesterday that Devontae Holloman is going to come home and be a Gamecock again. JC, I'm not sure. Do we have a role? What's his role? Do we know yet?
No. The news sort of leaked out quick on that for some reason, because there was some question about there's a rule, and the rules are getting relaxed a little bit because of Omega Blake. The rule was that you have to be on the field as one of the 10 on the field coaches if you have a recruit there. And then we got some clarification on it that no, it's kind of an after the fact thing. So South Carolina's not going to be able to sign anybody from South Point in 2023 or 2024 that was at South Point when Holloman left. Somebody transfers into South Point, they can recruit. That's good. They recruit them.
That's period. The end. JC, doesn't matter what role he's in,
unless he goes and moves on the field as like one of the 10 quote unquote on field coaches. But he's not. This is an off the field analyst type. My guess is he'll be an analyst, maybe helping with linebackers or something like that. But he's Devontae Holloman's brilliant. I mean, he is. He's going to be a big time coach at the college level, I promise. But but the rules. So the rules kind of were different with than what we were told about it. So it's after the fact. So no recruits that were there at South Point, and they checked, and there's not really anybody in 2023 or 2024 that project to be South Carolina level recruits. And so they just can't recruit anybody from that school that was there, like I said, when he left. And again, somebody transfers from Northwestern into South Point, and South Carolina loves them and wants them. That's fair game because Devontae Holloman didn't coach them. So that's, and that's good because I thought that, for a while now, I thought Devontae Holloman would be an excellent fit in some capacity on this staff. And I know everybody was a little shaken up that two really great Gamecocks walked out the door the other day to go on to other opportunities. And I think anytime you get a Gamecock back in the door when you lose them, that's a positive thing for the program.
All right, so he is the latest addition. Jody Wright has also been added to the staff in the role of tight ends coach. What more have you learned about Jody Wright?
I just got some good feedback on him from a number of folks. Great guy, high character, good recruiter. And the thing with Jody Wright, I don't want people to think I didn't think it was a good hire or anything, or I was questioning the hire. I just don't know who he is. I mean, I don't know a lot about him. And somebody in my position that's done my job probably would not, just because his on-the-road recruiting experience at college has been at UAB and Jacksonville State. That wouldn't have really been on my radar. And then he was in the pros, and then he was off the field at Alabama. But I went through some specifics with some friends of mine, last night about it that know a little bit about him. And he was very, very instrumental in signing who's the running back at Bama this year?
Elijah Gibbs.
Nah, the
Brian Robinson.
Brian Robinson. He was apparently
Jameer Gibbs.
Jameer Gibbs is the kid from Georgia
Transfer,
Tech coming
Brian
over.
Robinson.
But he was instrumental in signing a lot of these guys. And so just like Taylor Edwards at South Carolina, he did that at Alabama and was obviously good. And then he'll come coach tight ends and recruit. So we'll see. My feeling about this, guys, is because we're in a dead period. Sterling Lucas got hired, and immediately he hits the road and he goes to Sumter and he goes to Jacksonville, and players are starting talking about him. Recruits, get feedback, and that kind of settled people down. We're in a dead period now, so it's like the mystery man, Jody Wright. He's not going to be able to hit the road until. Gosh, I think it's mid-April when you can go back out. I think they can have some junior days and stuff coming up in March, spring practice and all. So you don't get that instant. We live in this instant gratification world anyway, so you don't get the instant feedback, and people start to get nervous. But I'm not nervous about the hire. I think I've obviously was more familiar with some of the other candidates. I never really had a horse in the game. But I could see where somebody would think I would, because I wrote a lot more about these other guys just because I knew more about them. So a lot of people I trust that have never let me down with an opinion on a coach or a player or whatever. Really tight people for a long time, in my career. And then some other people that I've just kind of gotten to know that I trust tremendously. They both raved about the guy. So, we'll see what happens.
Anticipating anything else in the near future? Or are we good to go for a while?
Well, you never know. I keep Alabama's got a defensive backs coach moving on.
Wait, what?
Scott. Yeah, the Seattle Seahawks expected to hire Carl Scott, defensive pass game coordinator, secondary coach. No, I'm sorry. No, that guy was with the Vikings. I apologize.
Wait a second. I was about to say T. Rob's at Bama, right?
I know. Yeah, they usually have two secondary coaches out there, though. I misread Bruce Feldman's tweet. I forgot Carl Scott had gone to the Vikings. But yeah, so with the NFL staffs filling out, I think it's kind of like when you're draining the coaching carousels, like when you're draining a big sink or something. We're down at the bottom where that crap that looks like grits is swirling and about to go down the sink. So we're almost done with it, but there still is some crap swirling around down there. So we'll see. But yeah, spring practice is right around the corner. I mean, we're February 9th. I don't, barring something and crazy. I don't anticipate any movement with the 10 on the field assistant coaches at South Carolina between now and, next season.
We'll see. It seemingly never over. It never ends, but nonetheless, that's at least where it stands now. And a reminder to everybody as well that Carolina is, I think, 12 or 13 over the scholarship cap. But JC, before we let you run here, probably looking at not much movement on the roster, but after spring practice, probably safe to say we're looking at a fairly significant amount of movement to get that scholarship number down.
And I think it's going to be unfortunate because I don't think you're going. All right. So Colby Fields is an example of this. Inevitably, there are going to be players that we like, all of us individually, that we think have a chance, that we're excited when they sign, that are going to leave. That's just, there's going to be disappointment. But what I don't think will happen is there'll be a lot of guys that, there's not going to be starters or guys in the 2 deep walking out the door. These will be guys that probably weren't going to play a whole lot, even if we liked them, and whether or not they're young or, just getting started like Fields or, sort of not a scheme fit like Jamar Brown, which I don't know that I agree that he wasn't a scheme fit, but he left, that kind of thing. I think that, you're going to see guys leave for different reasons, but I've gone through the roster and I don't want to be a jack wagon here and give you my list of this guy could be gone, and but let's just say there's plenty of room to maneuver if they need to get under. What I think is going to be unfortunate about it though is South Carolina, like you said, that number's like 11 and 10 or 11. That's going to be a talking point for people that don't know their butt from a hole in the ground about this program. Oh, South Carolina lost double-digit players after spring practice, and that's going to be a bad narrative, I think. But it's coming, Gamecock fans. So don't worry. And then your Gamecock fans that don't really keep up with the roster, like some of the Facebook crew, they're going to start panicking. We lost 10 players. Well, you had 98. You can only have 85. You had to get under, so.
Sorry, I had to text my wife. It's National Pizza Day.
It's National Pizza Day?
I'm putting a bug in her.
Leftovers right here with me right now.
That's disgusting.
Break.
Hey, honey, it's National Pizza Day. National Pizza Day.
Hey,
Mom, the meatloaf.
Hey, let me. Mom, I gotta get the.
I don't know what she's doing.
You don't. Did you just call Nat Mom?
No.
What kind of weird stuff are you?
I was quoting Will Ferrell.
I know what you were doing.
Thank God, JB. I was like, no, for sure you're getting. You're not. You can't not get Mom the meatloaf.
Oh,
but no, it'd be kind of weird if I called her mother. I was like, hello.
Yeah,
that'd be like a psychoticness. It's National Pizza Day, honey. She said,
"Hey Nat, hi Nat, hello."
She's like, "We're in Chicago every day. Is National Pizza
That's
Day."
not what she said. She said, "We're in Chicago."
Chicago pizza.
All right, hey, look. Before I let you go, I got one more. I put a note down. I forgot to do it. Jaden Bradford. He is transferred to IMG Academy in Florida. What is that? Carolina, from what I understand, is right at the top of the list for him. What does that mean? He's leaving Chapin, so. God bless our friends in Chapin. That sucks, man. You're losing your star quarterback. What's that mean for the Gamecocks?
This is another one of those things that I wish Bradford was not you, Jamie, but Jaden.
By the way, I bet he is an outstanding human being.
I bet he is. I'm sure he is, and
unbelievable, handsome. Probably
he's
good
the other JB.
Smart.
But
that's a good point. Yeah.
I wish Bradford was a little closer to deciding. Because we're going to have to go through 2 years of this. If he takes another visit somewhere, it's because he's at IMG. If he gets an offer from somebody big, that's IMG. They're going to push him someplace else. Oh my God! And it's because Clemson did a really good job of using IMG, and everybody with South Carolina is familiar with Clemson. And South Carolina didn't really do much down there. So I'm going to spend 2 years explaining why I'm not worried about this as far as the Gamecock fans are concerned. I put in a crystal ball pick of South Carolina to Bradford, a really early one. I don't really do that for younger guys, but there's some information out there that all three of the top 2024 kids right now we know about are going to South Carolina.
Wow.
And I knew I hadn't said anything about it because I was kind of sworn to secrecy, but I knew Bradford was going to IMG when I did that, just to let you guys know. Now, anything can happen because it's 2 years. So maybe if there'll be a time where you should be concerned. But right now, if you're a Gamecock fan, I'd be very, very surprised if Bradford and Josiah Thompson, the big tackle from Dillon, don't end up at South Carolina. And I've also put in a crystal ball pick for Cam Pringle from Woodland, the big offensive tackle. The other one.
God, he's huge.
They both are, dude. I have not seen – this is like having two Brandon Shells in the state.
How do you get that big? I mean, these guys are enormous dudes.
I guess it's a blessing, because I tell you, in the South, we all like to hope and think and pray that we have the best football players at all positions, and that's just not true when it comes to offensive line.
No.
Because normally your better, big jumbo athletes like that are defensive linemen. And offensive line's kind of a crapshoot, and you usually have to go to the Midwest to get really good ones, or a bunch of really good ones. This is just one of those freak things where in South Carolina, for whatever reason, for the next 2 years, you've got two tackles and then two tackles. And I like the 2024 bunch better because I'm not as high on Monroe Freeling as maybe some other folks. But I do like Marquis Anderson from Dorman in 2023, and then these two guys in 2024, they have a chance to be elite. So, I mean, elite. It's like having two Brandon Shells in the state. So, and along with a great quarterback, which, state of South Carolina is not exactly known for offensive tackles and quarterbacks, but that's just kind of the way it looks.
Yeah. Well, now they've lost both quarterbacks. The boy from Catawba Ridge left. He went up to Independence in Charlotte, and this young man's going to IMG. So, thanks a lot.
Well, I mean, now the kid from Catawba Ridge is originally from. He's kind of crossed. He's kind of a border crosser, right? He's crossed the border so many different times and stuff, but he's
Sam Hartman.
I expected him to go back, but I wasn't surprised when he went back. I don't know. He reminds me a little bit of Chris Leak, Christian LeMay, some of those quarterbacks from that area that have been really good as ninth graders and been good, but not great. And so that's who he reminds me of. I like Bradford's upside more. But, yeah, you're right. So the two elite quarterbacks from South Carolina will now be classified as North Carolina and Florida prospects.
Son of a. All right, BigSpur.com. The Big Spur, is it still 75% off if you're not a member?
I think it's a join for $1 deal now.
Join for $1.
Yeah, and I don't want to say this about. I'll say one thing about joining. If you're gonna, if you really like it, just I would pay because everybody talks about their wives being mad. I get this. My wife won't let me join.
What?
Yeah.
Who says that?
Oh, I get that all the time. Well, if you join and go ahead and pay full price, right, which is $9.99 a month, then guess what? You get Paramount Plus with it. So if you're paying for Paramount Plus anyway, it's basically you get with the $10 a month. It's basically $4 more to get the BigSpur.com, and so that's a deal.
I want to know names. Who is it? Is it you, Adam? Who is it? Who else we got in here? Where's Craig? Craig, is that you? Is it your wife? She won't let you join. We need to have a. We need to.
I think it's Grover.
Is it Grover?
Man.
Grover.
Grover's not.
Come on, Grover.
I think it's Elizabeth too. I think Elizabeth's.
Elizabeth, yeah, she's been perky in here today. Well,
yeah,
you need to come up with a deal. You need to come up with the grow a pair package for men to buy.
Grow a pair package. You could, I could throw in like a Manscaped box with it or whatever,
Yeah, just whatever you got lying around. Honey, have I used this razor in a while? All right.
I thought it was hilarious when South Carolina Athletics partnered with Manscaped because I was like. Everybody always talks about how Ray and everybody's all conservative and reserved and stuff. And then all of a sudden, the perfect school to sponsor for Manscaped is South Carolina, and it's out in the open. So I always thought that was kind of funny.
Well, good promo for the Big Spur. In addition to National Pizza Day, JC, it is also National Cut the Cord Day. So maybe if you're going to cut the cord, there's your Paramount Plus deal. And
Paramount Plus, man. Yeah.
Let's see. I haven't joined because JC isn't promising me a sweet hat. Just kidding, JC. Adam, here the Grow Pair package is standing by for you, my friend. Head to the Big Spur. .com. All right. Well, let's see. JC, I'm sure you will be calling each other off the clock at some point in time here very soon to fuss and discuss all of the other things that we have to discuss.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I wanted to put in one more plug. Starting to do some more video stuff on
it looks
our
good.
Big Spur YouTube page. And it doesn't cost anything to subscribe to a YouTube page. So I would encourage everyone to go to the youtube.com/the Big Spur. And you're going to get basically a lot of stuff from me. You know, none of our other guys are really on it, but it's exciting to kind of branch out a little bit with that. And I'm having fun with it. So
dude,
I would encourage everybody to do that.
I think can I give you some advice?
Yes.
You need a you need like a different, like, do you remember when Garth Brooks all of a sudden turned into Chris Gaines? Like that needs to be you. You need to be like, you need to put a wig on and you need to be like BJ, something. BJ Simpson or something like that. And they're like, isn't that JC? No, it's not. This is BJ Simpson.
Well, Snoop Dogg on Instagram for about a year turned into a dude named Kyle. Like
really?
You remember that, dude? Yeah, he was like, he put a blonde wig on, and he was like, "I'm Kyle. I'm a white guy," and it was hilarious because he was still Snoop, but he's like, "Hi guys, I'm Kyle. I'm a white guy," And
I need to Google that.
And Snoop did it for like, I guess it was about 6 months, and he'd be like, "Stay neat," and all of a sudden it's like, "Neat guys." I'm going out and hanging out with my friend Steve, and he just went on, and it was hilarious. So I'm thinking about something like that. But,
yeah, you need like an alternate personality.
Maybe playing a guitar, like, and singing the Gamecock scoop.
Yeah, you need to be something different. An alias. Thank you, Adam. This is why we have people around here that are smarter than us. I couldn't remember the word alias.
Alias. Alter ego.
Yeah. CJ True Bros. Shurburtt backwards. Yeah.
Give me a second, but Shurburtt. Yeah.
Oh, Shurburtt backwards.
CJ
Shurburtt backward is Rubros. Bros.
CJ True Bros.
Yeah. The T is silent.
True Bros. Yeah, it's Ukrainian. It's Ukrainian. Vladimir, please don't bomb me.
Well, it's like last night watching Shibwe. I was like, isn't it Tishi? No, Shibwe. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I was saying Shibwe yesterday.
Yeah, it's Shibwe.
Apparently is.
Well, I mean, it's like you're Oldwater.
Yep.
The G is silent.
I love
Aaron Oldwater.
Oldwater.
All right, dude.
I find my buddy Aaron Oldwater.
Aaron Oldwater, and yeah. Anyways, all right. Well, we've just pissed away the last 30 minutes or so no big deal. They'll come back tomorrow. Download the app. Thanks, JC. Tell our good friend Hale. Thanks for listening to the Pat DeMarco segments, and he writes. Pat makes it easy. That's for sure. He's a good friend, but Hale writes some good stuff. So we really appreciate that.
Great. All right, guys. I had a lot of fun today. Thank you so much, and we'll see you guys next week.
All right. See you, CJ.
See you, BJ.
See you,
and Aaron.
CJ Rubert, host
Oldwater.
Oldwater.
Oldwater. Maybe there's a little silent Y. Oldwater. I'm Aaron Oldwater.
That's right.
Aaron Oldwater. Oh, yeah.
Oldwasser could also work.
Oldwasser. All right, guys. Have a good one.
Breaking news to wrap up today. Brian Harsin is still the coach at Auburn.
Have we been talking about we're waiting on news of him for like a week?
Yeah. My sources told me we'd get some today. We didn't. Hey, it's also National Toothache Day. Who the hell celebrates that? Honey, grab the chisel. I'd like a toothache and some pizza.
There's nothing I like worse than the dentist and everything involved with doing anything in there.
That may be true, but I when I have a toothache, I love the dentist. Can't wait to get in there.
Yeah.
All right. Did we talk about Coach Tanner and South Carolina? So they need a new gym.
Yeah.
Got to move the place to Camden.
The check is on the way. It's coming.
Sorry, Coach. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll figure out something else tomorrow. We do have Monty Lee joining us tomorrow to give us a Clemson baseball preview. Really looking forward to that. David Shelton, Scott Glaze. It's going to be fun. We'll talk some Clemson hoops tomorrow as well. Their postseason hopes, just like Carolina's, right in the crapper. For Darren, I'm Jamie. Have a wonderful Wednesday at the Dog and Duck. We'll see you tomorrow at noon on the JB and Goldwater Show, presented by Motley Rice.